Peoples of the universe, please attend carefully. The message that follows is vital to the future of you all. I am the master, and you will obey me. And today we are continuing this month dedicated especially just for me. We're still not talking about the doctor. The curator is still a no-show. I'm here to talk about me. And here to share in my glory is one of my other selves, who's love slave, Mrs. Love Slave. How are you doing, my slave?
I am doing very, very well. If the thing will load, I actually have a very funny little story about what happened with my dog today. I'm just waiting for my example gift to load. But no, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this because now we get to talk about the dark side of Doctor Who. Okay, it's loaded. So before we do that, though, this is a representation of how my dog greeted me this morning when I came home for lunch. He jumped off the couch, and because I have a hardwood floor, when he landed, he fell like that. Yeah.
I mean, this sort of reminds me of when my dog used to jump off the couch after I washed the floor.
Oh yeah.
It's always fun when your slaves greet you happily, isn't it? Wow. I mean, pets. I mean, dogs. I mean, should we get down to the birthday section today?
Yes.
Because apparently this show still has some rules that even I, the master, am contractually obligated to follow. So we are following this week the birthdays from the 7th all the way to the 13th of March. And starting us off on the 7th, we have Mr. Brian Hales. He was primarily a writer of several episodes during the classic era, primarily The Celestial Toymaker, The Smugglers, The Ice Warriors, The Seeds of Death, and The Curse of Peladon, and The Monster of Peladon. Some of my favorite episodes are on that list. He also wrote several potential episodes that eventually got adapted into Big Finish episodes, namely The Dark Planet, The Queen of Time, and Lords of the Red Planet. So he was primarily a Ice Warriors person, if you couldn't tell by the number of episodes that I think he also co-created the Ice Warriors.
That would make sense.
I think, yeah, I mean, because all this the episodes that he wrote, Ice Warriors, Seeds of Death, and the 2 Peladons, I mean, that's Ice Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on, maybe it does say. Well, I'm not going to read all that. I probably should have done that beforehand. But you know what? That's not how the master does things. Also, on the 7th, we have Mr. Gordon Fleming. He was the director of the 2 Aru films starring Peter Cushing as the Doctor,
oh, cool.
Doctor Who and the Daleks, and Daleks Invasion Earth 2150. He was the director of that. On the 8th of March, International Women's Day, Mr. Paul Clayton. He's primarily done a lot of Big Finish work, but he's primarily mostly recognized as Mr. Colchester in a wide variety of the Torchwood Big Finish range.
Oh, cool.
But primarily named Torchwood, the story continues with such episodes, such storylines, I should say, as the Torchwood Archive, Aliens Among Us, God Among Us, and the upcoming new Torchwood storyline, which is simply titled Among Us.
Nice.
There's a lot of Among Us-ness in the Torchwood range, apparently. So on the 9th of March, I really hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I apologize if I don't. Vili Chabalala. Again, I really hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. She played the pseudo companion Rosita Farisi in The Next Doctor, the companion of Jackson Lake, who was a pseudo doctor in a way. And on the 10th of March, Mr. Yiji Cho. That one I do know how to pronounce. He played the character Chang Li in the 1996 TV movie with Paul McGann, but he also played several different roles on Big Finish. Like he was a very, very regular on many, many Big Finish stuff. Some which actually include a role on the Vault stories alongside Daphne Ashbrook, who played Grace in the movie. So they're still good friends, even that many years after that. On the 10th, sadly, a person who we talked about around this time last year when he passed away, Mr. Stuart Bevan. He, of course, played the character of Clifford Jones in The Green Death, the scientist who eventually ended up marrying Joe Grant, the Doctor's companion, which led to her leaving. And of course, him and Katie Manning were also married in real life at that time. So
Oh, cool.
that's the whole love storyline sort of came into being. And he also, I believe, he reprised the role on one of the trailers for the collection. So
Oh, nice.
they whenever they release the Blu-rays for each individual season,
Hmm.
they do this short mini story to promote it. And uh, Katie Manning played Joe Jones, I should say, several times on whenever they released that. One of which included him. Sorry, my bad. Now on the 11th, we actually have a triple header on the 11th that I think you're actually really going to enjoy.
Okay,
Okay? Are you ready for this?
let's do this.
Do you think the audience is ready for this?
I don't know.
So we have John Barrowman,
Oh,
Captain Jack himself, and Alex Kingston.
okay, this one I knew. I knew about these two.
Yeah, they were literally born on the same day, few years apart. And can I just say, take a guess. Which one of them do you think is the older of the
Oh,
two?
it's Barrowman. I know Barrowman's is older than he looks.
Well, joke's on you. It's Alex.
Really?
Yep. John Barrowman was born in 1967, and Alex Kingston was born in 1963, the
Oh,
year Doctor Who came out.
oh wow. So she's 60 this year. Wow. She looks
Yeah,
good for 60.
she looks better than I do in my 30s. I'll
Yeah,
just
me
say
too.
that. And also on the 11th, Mr. Graham Harper, a constant writer and director and associate producer. Sorry, not writer. He was just director and production assistant and production and assistant floor manager on many, many of the classic era episodes, as well as directing some of the episodes in the modern series. He's also technically an unofficial doctor
Oh, why
from
is that?
the from the Morbius episode. Are you familiar with the Morbius doctors as a concept?
No, actually, I am not.
So basically, long story short, the fourth Doctor had a sort of mind wrestling match with this other Time Lord called Morbius,
Hmm.
not the Marvel Morbius, a Time Lord called Morbius, where they showed previous incarnations of both of them, and then after like they went back from Tom Baker to John Pertwee to Patrick Troughton to William Hartnell, they sort of started going back and showing all kinds of faces we've never seen before,
Yep.
which were considered unofficial doctors for many, many, many years, called the Morbius doctors. Really, it was just the writers and producers and directors and production assistants at the time. They just shoehorned them in to be these unofficial faces of the Doctor. But it was officially confirmed recently with the Timeless Child
Hmm.
storyline that they were actually part of the Doctor's past, that the Doctor was
Cool.
just wasn't really that aware of at the time.
That's pretty cool.
And also on the 11th, a lot of people were born that day. Apparently, this guy, I don't think, I don't think you really are familiar with this person. Just some random, obscure, unknown author by the name of Douglas Adams.
Oh,
Ever
very
heard
nice.
of the guy? Like he
Um,
wrote a book.
I think so. So the number 42 comes to mind.
Yeah, I think he wrote a book about hitchhiking. I think in a
Yeah.
guide to a galaxy or whatever.
Several other
But
things. Yeah.
yeah. In addition to that, he also wrote The Pirate Planet and the famously unproduced episode Shada,
Hmm.
and he was kind of uncredited as writing City of Death, one of the better episodes of the late Tom Baker era. And the penultimate one on our list. This list is going way longer than it should. But yeah, we have Leslie Ann Manville. She played Heather Hartnell in An Adventure in Space and Time. William Hartnell's wife in the
Okay.
pseudo documentary on the early days of the show. And finally, wrapping up our list on the 12th, we have Mr. Simon C. Holden. He's primarily a visual effects person. He was a 2D visual effects artist and 2D artist on many of the modern series episodes. As a matter of fact, according to the list I have here, pretty much all the episodes, well, not all of them, just most of the episodes in the Russell T Davies era, like from Rose all the way up to the two-parter with River Song. At least that's what it is according to my list here. So the wonderful, lovely list of people we had today. Thank you all. We quite literally could not do this without you.
Exactly.
But enough about those people. Let's talk about me for a second, the master, the reason why everyone came here to watch this show, right? So, as the title of this episode and the thumbnail suggests, we're here to talk about my modern incarnations. We talked about my classic versions in the previous episode. Today, we're talking about all of my modern selves, and of course, we can't talk about any of the wonderful faces in this picture without talking about this guy first. Derek Jacobi, technically speaking, the first modern master. What do you think about me in this form?
I think my my experience with David Jacobi as the master is just from the TV show, and I think he's really good at well, first off, you do believe that he is this this old man. What's his name again? Sorry,
Professor Yana.
Professor Yana. Yeah, I do. Like, he's very believable as Professor Yana wanted to do the right thing, but then all of a sudden, when the memory starts coming back because of that pocket watch, it's like you can definitely tell, like, oh, there's something more to him behind those eyes. And so from the one episode we do get of him, I thought he played a very, very good version of the master that we didn't know was the master until the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate that the actor that is Derek Jacobi, unfortunately, we got to see him as the master for all of three minutes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the whole episode kind of hinged on the reveal. And true to form with Russell T Davies, he doesn't just give you one surprise plot twist that pulls the rug under your feet.
Yeah.
He hammers home the point with another one right after that. It's that not only the master's back, but he's also regenerating, and we find out in the next episode that he's actually been the guy behind the scenes running for the Prime Minister of Great Britain the whole time.
Yeah, but, I mean, you constantly are hearing that name throughout the entire season.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Bad Wolf or Torchwood in series 1 or 2.
Yeah, it wasn't in your face. It was very much like just in the background.
Yeah, that's what I'm really thinking. I love about how Russell T handled these types of storylines is that he didn't beat you over the head with these things. Like, it's the sort of stuff you really notice upon repeat viewing, because like you hear the name Harold Saxon in The Runaway Bride. You kind of hear it again in Smith and Jones.
Yep.
You really get a proper mention of him in the Lazarus Experiment and 42, but then it's almost a complete no-show and right up until the triple header finale. And yes, I am one of those idiots who considers those 3 episodes a trilogy of episodes.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah, but apparently the BBC doesn't consider them a trilogy. They just consider The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords as official. But you know what?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I do consider it as a trilogy.
While we're on the subject, by the way, do you also do the same with Turn Left and the 2-parters at the end? Follow it?
No. I just never thought that one. I never thought of it as.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Just, it's a great episode that leads into a two-parter, but I don't consider that it a three-parter.
Yeah, me neither.
But anyway, so for those of you looking for more Derek Jacobi goodness, he's got like 8 or 9 box sets on Big Finish already, just as him as the War Master. And he also pops up regularly in other places. I mean, he was in, speaking of Alex Kingston, he was in one of the River Song box sets. He was, I believe he was also in the 8 Doctor Stranded ones. He was in Masterful, obviously, which we may or may not talk about next week. Spoilers. But yeah, he keeps popping up all over the place. He was in the Gallifrey Time War series alongside Leela, of all people.
Oh,
which is weird. It's an interesting because on the television show, Leela never actually got to meet the Master. So she obviously met the Jeffrey Beaver's Master on Big Finish in other capacities, but this was like Leela and this version of the Master working side by side together, and it was really, really good. So Derek Jacobi, the national treasure that is Derek Jacobi, still with us, still giving us more from this one performance that we saw, except that he's doing it more and better, and actually get proper stories with this guy, proper character development. He had one of those box sets he did alongside Paul McGann as the Doctor. Another one he did alongside David Tennant as the Doctor, with like a future version of David Tennant of the 10th Doctor, who already knew he was the Master, but he hasn't done the whole change-up thing yet. So just check this guy out on Big Finish is all I'm asking. And most importantly, as you can see in this picture, the goatee is back. You really can't have the Master.
He looks pretty good with the goatee.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gordfan Snark says it best. I mean, look at this. A new body at last. I mean, yeah, there's the goatee. Like, how else would you know that that's the Master?
That's true.
But so I think we talked more time on Derek Jacobi portrayal than his actual screen time on the show. But he very quickly regenerates. First time we ever actually properly get to see the Master regenerate. First and technically last time. But he regenerates into the John Simm version. Now,
who's one of the best?
This guy, well, the best is Roger Delgado.
I said one of the best.
Oh, sorry, my bad. But this guy, this is technically speaking my first Master.
Mine too.
I mean, I got into Doctor Who from the David Tennant era, and when I saw Derek Jacobi sort of having the heel turn, if you will, of announcing himself as the Master, I'm like, who's the Master? Who's this guy? Why does he hate the Doctor so much? But again, it was really a small sample size. I really got a proper taste of the guy in the John Simm version, where he became the Prime Minister and he did some of the worst things that the Master's ever done to the Doctor.
Oh God!
And again, I was still new to Doctor Who at that moment.
Yeah. So he was my first introduction as well. And what's funny is that when I started, I did Smith stuff. I caught up to Smith, and then I went back and did Tennant. So I already done some research. I already heard of the Master, but yeah, the John Simm Master. I know what my name says and all that stuff, but John Simm is for me my Master. So like, I mean, every time I think of the Master, it's generally John Simm. It's primarily from when we see him in the End of Time.
So not the 2-parter we just mentioned, the 3-parter.
No, I mean, usually when I think of the Master, it's erratic and stuff like that. As much as I love the John Saxon stuff and all that jazz, whenever the Master, it's the image of him in the End of Time like this that pops up.
Yeah, where he keeps jumping in and out of his skeleton.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm with you though. The stuff that he put the Doctor through in that 3-parter, holy crap, ageism. How many years?
I mean, it doesn't age him. It's more like showing his full age, like all 900 years.
Oh, okay.
Like, when
But-
900 years you reach, good look as good you will not.
Right, and then no, it's just basically holds the world hostage for a year. Everyone looks like him.
No, that's the end of time.
That's the end of time, yeah. But I mean, like, Steven, that still, you can lump it in with, putting the Doctor through hell. Like, yeah. And of course, the drums.
So, question. Speaking of Last of the Time Lords, have you ever seen the extended version of that episode?
I can't say for certain.
Because in that one, you get more of him, basically. That's probably where the extended part.
The Last of the Time Lords,
I mean, first things first. After you get the opening, well, first of all, the opening scene of that episode starts with like a news traffic report, a galactic traffic report advising incoming starliners to stay away from Sol 3, also known as Earth, because Sol 3 is reaching extinction. And then we get the opening scene with Martha on the beach with Tom Milligan signaling her. And then when they go away, they cut back to the Valiant, just like it does in the short version, except instead of just having the Master talking to the Doctor on a wheelchair, you get this extended sequence of the Master just running around the room, dancing and singing and torturing Martha's family. Like, it's a really cool scene.
Sounds familiar. Give me 1 second. This is not meant to be a flex. I'm gonna go get my DVD and see if it's on there.
All right. So we really should coordinate these things better so there isn't this much dead space while we're recording. But the guy's got to go grab one of his DVDs.
Shut up. Also has every episode of Doctor Who Confidential.
Thank you, because those are quite
so
impossible to find these days.
It doesn't say. It doesn't make mention of it, so I'm going to say no. I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, so in that whole sequence, there is a scene of after he ages up the Doctor and puts him in a cage. Yeah. There's like a scene where you just see Martha's family sitting in a prison cell.
Yeah, that I know. That one I know.
And they're just talking about all the stuff that the Master forced them to do. Like, he forced them to watch the islands of Japan burning.
Mm-hmm. He did some horrible shit.
So, yeah, this guy, this Master, I think I'm going to go ahead and say it. This guy is the most successful Master out of all of them.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting Masterful, the Big Finish story, where he literally kills the Doctor in that episode. Oh, and by the way, it's the Jodie Whittaker version. Just say. So yeah, he literally kills the Doctor, and he brings all the Masters together into one moment. Like, one of these days, you really gotta sit down and listen to Masterful. It's got him. Obviously, Michelle Gomez, Derek Jacobi, Eric Roberts, Jeffrey Beavers, Alex McQueen, like even Mark Gatiss, the Unbound Master. It's got all the Masters in one room together, and this guy held the meeting. So, I'm gonna say about this Master is he's easily the most successful because he keeps winning. The problem with this guy is maintaining the win.
Yeah.
Like, truth be told, he beat the Doctor. He held the world in the palm of his hand for a year and a day. What happened?
Downloading Masterful.
Cool. So he held the whole world for a full year and 1 day, and then the Doctor undid all of that. And then he comes back in this episode. The human race basically became extinct thanks to this guy for all of several hours, right? Like, he took over planet Earth again, and he even brought the Time Lords back, and then he lost it all. And then he became the leader of a Mondasian ship, turned them all into Cybermen, but then they turned on him, in Capaldi's penultimate story, World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls. Now, I'm going to say this. Did you like that they brought him back for that story?
Well, I haven't seen that story, but I will say when
You
I
didn't
heard
see it when we did the recapping thing a couple of years ago?
no, we never got that far.
I'm
Did
pretty
we?
sure we did. You just didn't watch the Christmas special with
Shit, I don't remember, man. COVID messed with me.
yeah.
But I will say, like, because I do. Okay, so when it aired, I was off. I had fallen off, obviously, by that point. But when they had announced that John Simm was coming back, it did actually pique my interest a little bit. Like, it was like, okay, cool, because I like that character, and I was interested to see how how they went, how he got along with Messi and Capaldi. So, yeah, I was pretty excited. What about you?
I mean, I was just excited to see that we get to see that version of the Master again.
Mhm.
Like, we get these multi-doctor stories all over the place.
Yeah, we don't have many multi-masters.
Unlike Masterful. But yeah, even case in point, at the end of that story, David Bradley's first Doctor shows up, leading into a multi-doctor story of 12th Doctor and the first Doctor.
Yeah.
But this was on television, our first ever multi-master story.
Which is wild to think about.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think it didn't do much justice to his character.
That's what everyone says.
I just felt it sort of brought him down a couple of pegs in my personal ranking of the Master.
That's fair.
Like, I think that episode hurts his reputation as the Master more than it helps. Because by the end of time, you can sort of tell there's a little bit of character development.
Yeah, because of how he goes out.
Yeah, and man and the Doctor, he goes against the Time Lords to save the Doctor.
Yeah,
in that episode, and
it was his Darth Vader moment.
Yeah, but not killing younglings.
No. At the end of Jedi,
it's him picking up the Emperor and throwing him away.
It's him killing the Emperor to save Luke. But
again, because of how he treats the Peter Capaldi Doctor in that two-parter, it's like all that character development was gone out the window.
So
go ahead.
Correct me. Okay, could you? Because my memory does not recall if I've seen this or not. Does this John Simm? Is it after the end of time, John Simm, or is it like him taking it from a point before that?
Yeah. It couldn't be from before that because he was kind of dead after Last of the Time Lords.
Yeah.
He was dead until he was revived in the end of time, and then after the end of time, he goes back into the Time War with the rest of the Time Lords, and then obviously then when the Day of the Doctor happens and all the Doctors save Gallifrey,
right, okay.
He's still there. He's still on Gallifrey. The Time Lords cure him of the drums in his head, and they just send him on his way. He gets a new TARDIS and starts traveling the universe again, and he ends up crashing on the Mondasian ship, spends a couple of years there, helping them transition into Cybermen, and then obviously he meets the Peter Capaldi Doctor, he meets Missy
okay. So it's the same one that we see in the end of time then, okay.
It's after the end of time, several years, in fact, after the end of time. Then obviously Misty just steps into the back, he regenerates into her. So I'm going to say my main problem with that, his inclusion in that episode, and this is just for me as a fan, I think the script was not written for his Master. I think it was written for the Anthony Ainley Master, not the John Simm Master. And watching that episode, for me personally, that's the way I see it. I'm seeing John Simm playing his version of the Master, but he's playing his version to a a script that was written for Anthony Ainley, from the mannerisms, from his betrayal and how he treats the Doctor, right down to the wardrobe, to the what he was wearing, and even the goatee. So like the mannerisms and the characteristics of the John Simm Master but the actions of the Anthony Ainley
When the
version.
hell was the script written then? Like, was it actually written for the Anthony Ames one, or what?
Anthony Ainley passed away before the revival happened.
Okay, never mind.
He passed away in 2004.
Okay. So maybe the guy who wrote the episode was just basing it off of his favorite master. Who knows? That's because it is kind of weird.
Yeah, his name was Stephen Moffat, you know.
Oh, frig. Never mind.
And you know, when I always say this, Stephen Moffat is great at creating new toys for himself to play with. Unfortunately, the problem with him is that he keeps wanting to use toys that other people made, like other characters and monsters, and like the Anthony Ainley Master. So, I mean, I will never be able to unsee that in the episode. To me, it's the Anthony Ainley Master's actions, but because of storyline purposes, it just had to be the John Simm version.
Yeah.
So that's really the only way I can see this. But speaking of toys created by Stephen Moffat, arguably one of his best toys, aside from this one, it's Missy.
Oh, totally.
I mean,
I love Missy.
I love Missy. She, because of that episode, which really brought him down, Missy is now my second favorite master, and my favorite of the modern ones. Because like, she's great from the performance to her character arc. One of the many problems that John Simm Master suffers from is lack of exposure. Really, when you break it down, he really is only in 6 episodes, plus the 2 minutes at the end of Utopia. So he doesn't have that much screen time. He more than makes up for it in the actions that he does in the screen time that he was given, which really elevates him as one of the great masters. But I mean, Missy got essentially a full season.
Yeah,
which kept popping up here and there. She was in the two-parter of the opening two-parter of Capaldi's second season, and she regularly appeared all throughout his third season. And then obviously she came back towards the end. Yeah. She got her own standalone series on Big Finish, much like the Derek Jacobi version.
And she's the only master to basically become a companion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
She was a legitimate companion of the Doctor at one point.
Yeah, wild to think.
And
but you can't help but love, like Michelle Gomez is like, it was like she was made for this role. Like, you cannot help but love Missy. In my case, want to become a love slip, apparently. Because she chooses the scenery, but in a good way, like the master should. But she puts this flirtatiousness into it that you don't get with anyone else. I mean, it'd be like if John Barrowman played the master.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think me and Frenchie talked about this. I talked about this last week with Joe. The thing about the master in any version is they steal the show, even from the Doctor at points. And Missy does that to the nth degree. Like, and I love Capaldi. Capaldi is one of my favorite Doctors. And the chemistry between her and Capaldi is great.
Oh, yeah.
They work so well together. It's, I think, easily the most well-developed version of the Master because of the redemption arc that she gets and because she's finally at that point where she's no longer a generic villain type. Like, she legitimately, she explains her relationship with the Doctor as a sort of, they're not really enemies. They're still good friends.
Yeah, they're more rivals than anything else.
And they just keep trying to one up each other. And I love that scene from The Sorcerer's Apprentice where she's sitting down with Clara and they're talking about, and Clara's like, you hate the Doctor. Why are you trying to find him? And she's like, our relationship is far more complex than your entire species, or whatever it is that she says in that moment. And she's like,
am I remembering this right? They're in a room full of Daleks, or is that another scene?
No, that's another scene that was in the in the outdoor restaurant.
Okay, sorry.
It's when they see an old couple and she's like, "You see that couple over there? You're the puppy."
Okay, gotcha.
And also in that scene, she's like, I keep trying to burn planets. He keeps saving them. It's how we flirt. And looking back, even as early back as the John Simm Master, or even as further back as Pertwee and Delgado, it sometimes kind of feel like they're not really a good guy or bad guy. It's just the Master and the Doctor are playing this tug of war, this cat and mouse game of like, I'm gonna get you. No, I'm gonna get you first.
Yeah.
So, and again, seriously, just look at some of the scenes between Tennant and John Simm, the way they refer to fighting over the fate of the planet Earth like a game. And that's really what this version of the Master, Misty, really brought to the forefront. Is like she shines a light on that whole.
Oh yeah.
The fact that this is how the Doctor and the Master go. They're not. I mean, and again, they're Time Lords. They're supreme elevated beings.
I think what helps in that and what made it more noticeable is the fact that this time around the Master's a female. Like, think about that. The Master beat the Doctor to the punch in being the first one to be a female.
He also beat the Doctor to the punch in being the first person of color, but that's another Master we're going to talk about.
Yep,
it's almost like the Doctor keeps playing catch up. And you know what? He also beat the Doctor to the punch in being an old man. Unless you count William Hartnell, but I mean,
yeah.
In the modern sense of things, right? In the modern sense of things.
But yeah, no, I love Missy. She's my second favorite Master.
Me too. Right behind the Roger Delgado Master.
Just a quick question: Eric Roberts' Master, was he part of the last episode?
No, because we're going classic and modern. He's sort of in between.
Okay. So you're going to talk about him on another episode, probably?
I mean, if you want, we can talk about him in the Masterful episode next week.
Sure. I'll go ahead and I'll listen to that.
It's great. It's 3 hours, so it's not too crazy.
So what I can do is I can listen to it before I start work, because I usually got about an hour and a half before the store opens, where I can listen to whatever the hell I want. So I might do it then next week.
Okay, cool. Unfortunately, one Master who will not be in that storyline is the most recent of the Masters, Sacha Dhawan.
Oh, I have only seen him the one time, and my God, was it a tour de force.
I mean, he kind of has the same thing that the John Simm Master is, that he doesn't have a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
But what this guy does with the screen time that he's given, it's nothing short of, pardon the pun, masterful.
I remember when I was watching Power of the Doctor, and I texted you, I'm like, this guy is the Joker's version of the Joker as the Master.
Yeah, he's
easily
the most deranged, unhinged version of the Master, even more than the John Simm version.
Saying something, I mean, to the point where he went back in time and was Rasputin.
Can we take a sidestep on talking about that? So do you think he was Rasputin just for that period of time, which was relevant to the plot? Or do you think he was actually Rasputin the whole time?
I could see it be based on what I know of Rasputin, and I've actually read a 700-page book on the man. I could see it being believable that the Master was Rasputin.
But wasn't Rasputin like huge?
No.
No, he wasn't.
Basically, Rasputin, as portrayed by Sacha Dhawan, is how Rasputin looked, but white.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he looked like Rasputin.
He is notoriously whitewashed. Let's not get into that.
Right. But I mean, like, Rasputin wasn't a big man. Like, I mean, he was just more, he had this charm and this charisma and this way to put a hold over people that someone like the Master has. So, I mean, it is entirely possible that, in this universe, the Master was Rasputin the whole time.
And let me tell you the reason why I am asking you this. Because you brought up the Eric Roberts Master.
Mm-hmm.
You remember a line that he said in the movie?
It's been a long time since I've seen the movie.
Okay, so when he tries to get this guy,
Yep.
Chang Li, to go to his side,
Mhm.
to convince him that the doctor is actually the bad guy. Something that's
I remember
completely
that. Yeah.
within the master's wheelhouse to do, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
I
totally a
remember that.
master
Yeah.
thing to do. But and Chang Li asks, how is the doctor a bad guy? How is he that bad? And what the master says is, Genghis Khan, that's him.
Hmm.
So and now there are a couple of ways you can look at it. One way, it's just the master lying to get this guy's attention, right? And the doctor is in no way, shape, or form Genghis Khan.
Yeah, which is more
How,
than likely.
yeah, however, there is an implication to be made. An implication which would suggest that the master is
Mhm.
actually Genghis Khan, blaming the doctor for something that he did to try and convince the guy. Would you be okay with knowing that Genghis Khan is the master?
I would love that. I always love it when they do things like that, especially with people that have the ability to time travel and stuff. Like we get it in Pandorica Opens with Cleopatra.
Technically, don't, because she's
Didn't-
impersonating.
Oh
Remember, she's impersonating Cleopatra. One of the Roman soldiers says that she's in Egypt and long dead by now. So
shit! I totally forgot about that. But no, I personally love it because I could definitely see the master doing it. Like, I mean, he did it when he was John Saxon. He pretended to be John Saxon. So, I mean, I don't have.
Harold Saxon.
God damn it. John Saxon is the guy who played the dad in Nightmare on Elm Street. Son of a bitch. It's random. But no, I mean, it sounds like something the master would do. So, I mean, I like that when you find out, oh shit, it was really this guy.
Yeah, but don't you see the
Kind of like
problem
Vandal
with that?
Savage. Like, that's one of the things I like about Vandal Savage.
Me too. But do you see the problem with that?
No.
What is Genghis Khan most famously known for besides conquering?
Overpopulating.
Yeah, he fucks a
Yeah.
lot.
I never thought I'd hear you go, he fucks.
He fucks a lot. I think it's like the statistics is like one out of every 160,000 people is a descendant
Yeah.
of
For all I
Genghis
know,
Khan in
either
the
you
world.
or me could be related to him. It's freaking wild.
Yeah,
Could you imagine?
so again, if you extrapolate that, imagine in that universe how many people in the world are actually descendants of the master.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Then maybe that's why it was so easy for him to change his appearance, where everybody became the master. Maybe that could actually have helped have been it. Who knows?
Maybe.
We stumbled across something.
Yeah, but the reason I bring that up is because Rasputin is also known for being a sex symbol of sorts.
Yes, he is, but to my knowledge, he's only had one daughter.
To your knowledge, yeah.
Mhm. Who's even then that's kind of disputed, but she was a lion tamer. Go figure.
And you know what else? In the Dalek two-parter, Missy does mention that she had a daughter.
Oh,
You know, there's a moment when there where I think it's the brooch she's got on her neck. Like she takes a look at it and she's like, "Oh, I love it so much. The doctor gave it to me when my daughter." And then something happens and distracts her.
hmm.
And in a story that I believe was written by Russell T Davies a couple of years ago, in that story, it's like Missy shows up with a baby daughter in her arms, and all the other male masters that came before her were like, "What?" So
I wonder if we could get. Oh, I wonder if we could get that now that he's back.
never say never, man.
Yeah,
I mean, he's bringing Beep the Meep into the show.
yeah. Oh, yeah. She beat the meep. I still remember your reaction when you saw that trailer. Beat the meep.
It's Beep the Meep. So you've only seen Power of the Doctor as far
Yes.
as the Sacha Dhawan Master is
Yeah,
concerned,
and
right?
like I've seen like clips and pictures here and there of anything before that, but yes, this is the only full on episode I've seen of him, and it maybe was like, I love this man.
Yeah. So I highly encourage you to watch, go back and watch Spyfall, and I know it's controversial. I know, I mean, people give that episode shit, but the Timeless Children episode. I mean, you already know from being associated with me.
Yeah,
You
and I
know
mean,
what the, you know
yeah,
what
he's
the
the one that,
Timeless
he's the one that
Child.
tells the doctor, isn't he?
What?
Isn't he the one that spills the beans on this to the doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's another one of those. Is he lying? But turns out he's not.
Yeah. It turns out now because it was later. It's something that I hate that happens in modern media today is that like someone comes up with a big major plot twist, the internet goes wild saying no, it's not true, they were lying, it's blah 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 blah, and then the next installment they have to write in a scene confirming that no, it's actually legit. I call it the Yoda Return of the Jedi effect, where the whole reason Yoda says to Luke that your father was because people kept believing that Vader was
Because they
not.
didn't believe that it was Darth Vader lying. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've heard stories that children at the time were having identity crises over that. Like,
I mean, people kill
there's some
themselves. They can go to Pandora and Avatar. So I mean, anything's possible.
But yeah, I mean, it happened with Rise of Skywalker, going back into Star Wars. It also happened sort of in the most recent Jurassic Park episode. Jurassic World.
Really?
With the whole the whole girl, the young girl is a clone.
Yeah.
They sort of changed that. Or rather, they had to write in a scene explaining that, and they did it again with Tecteun literally telling the doctor that everything the master said was true. So, I suppose it's just a product of the times we live in today, but either way.
Product.
What?
Doesn't mean it's a good product.
Yeah. One positive I'd say that came from that is that, look at this. The master has his TARDIS again.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because, like, in the classic series, all the masters had their TARDIS. Even the Derek Jacobi version has his TARDIS on the Big Finish side of things. And John Simm's master mentions having a TARDIS in the two-parter that he appears in, which only furthers my point that he should have been the Anthony Ainley master, but that's beside the point. Even Missy, in her Big Finish story, she has a TARDIS, and she even goes out and finds a stronger, more powerful TARDIS. So yeah, wrong picture. So having Sacha Dhawan with his TARDIS, which also makes an appearance in Power of the Doctor, literally shaped like the Doctor's TARDIS, the police box, except it says ha 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 all over the place.
I've seen that. Yes, I have seen that TARDIS.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So hopefully when the Master comes back in the new Russell T Davies era, it's gonna he or she are going to have their TARDIS back, because we didn't get the Master with his TARDIS during the first time around that Russell T Davies.
Yeah, we didn't know. He had a spaceship, but
no, he didn't. I mean, he stole the Doctor's TARDIS.
That's right.
And turned it into a paradox machine. So, do you think we should touch on how this became this?
Yeah, because I actually don't know how.
Because in the Doctor Falls, the John Simm Master gives Missy the full blast with the laser. With the laser screwdriver, and says, "Don't even bother regenerating. I've eliminated your regeneration. There's no possibility of regeneration." Yeah. Whatever he says, right? So people kept wondering, so is the Sacha Dhawan Master an earlier version of the Master before Missy, and Missy as actually the final Master?
Missy? It could be the version, it could be where we could have gone with Matt Smith. You never know.
Speaking of Matt Smith,
Matt Smith, the Doctor.
Speaking of Matt Smith, did you hear what he recently said about coming back to the show?
That he'd love to?
No. Yes, but no. he was recently asked in an interview if he was come back, and he's like, he sort of had this idea in his head for a while that if he comes back, he would like to come back as the Master.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Imagine that! A previous face of the Doctor as the new face of the Master.
Oh, it'd be great.
I love that.
I would love to see that. I agree with you.
Because we've seen Matt Smith play the Doctor for several years. Imagine him playing the Master now.
Yeah, and the beauty of being the Master is he doesn't have to be in every story like with the Doctor, right?
Yeah, which will leave more time for him to do his other stuff.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons he left in the first place.
I would love that. That would be freaking awesome.
So, again, going back into the whole Missy regenerating into Sacha Dhawan. So, it's said in that episode that this was Missy's final
the last time here.
Yeah, because the John Simm Master blasted her with the laser screwdriver, which ended up eliminating all of her future regenerations. However, in the wibbly wobbly timey wimey nature of the franchise, and you know that when multiple Doctors meet, some rules get broken and some things in the continuity change, right? It is nothing at all compared to when the Masters meet each other. And here's where I'm going with this. So in the Big Finish Missy series from a few years ago, highly recommend checking that one out as well. But in that series, Missy met a future version of herself, not as Missy, as a different actress. I believe Jenna McKee, I think, was the name of the actress. Yes, so she asked her, how did she become her? And she's like, I'm your Valyard. I'm everything that's good about you. Apparently, at some point in Missy's future, she was going to suffer a great tragedy and pain beyond anything that any of the Masters could even imagine. So she would go take the ultimate step and do some weird Time Lord ritual technology thing, whatever, to force regenerate her into another version of her that would eliminate all the bad stuff in Missy, in her, and only leave the good, which then led to her regenerating into a new version of herself called the Lumiat, which is the next incarnation along. And she was good. She was like completely devoid of any evil, any hint of badness. She like the Missy's redemption arc achieved to the fullest.
Nice.
Like even that episode with Capaldi, you can kind of tell that she wants to be good, but she keeps reverting back into her bad side because that's in her nature. Not with this version, not with the Lumiat, because she's all good. And she's a huge fan of the Doctor, specifically the Jodie Whittaker version, and she keeps trying to find the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. She's basically like a huge fangirl of the Doctor at this point. She wants to find the Doctor, but she keeps unfortunately running into Missy because Missy keeps screwing things up, which leads the Lumia to find her and fix what she did. She undoes what Missy did, and then eventually Missy's like, "Screw this! I'm never gonna end up like you." And so she shoots her. She kills her future self and vows never to turn into her ever again.
Jesus.
Again, I told you, it gets wild whenever the Masters meet each other.
Yeah.
Missy goes on her merry way, continuing on with her bad streak, going back to the evil side and vowing never to become the Lumiat ever again, which, of course, she changes her own future, comes up with a new future where she actually becomes good the other way around, the hard way around, with everything that happens with Capaldi, and then she gets the redemption arc. She meets the John Simm Master, who blasts her with the laser screwdriver, killing her off, eliminating her regenerations. So that version of Missy, she's dead. Missy's gone. There is no more Master in the universe. Except that Lumiat version from a sort of splintered timeline when Misty was good. That version still Misty herself is dead. The Master is discontinued, but that version still remains. And after after Misty shot her, she regenerates into this guy.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why he's fallen back into his more deranged, evil side, worse than he's ever been before, and why he hates the Doctor as much as he does. And that's why he's so crazy. It's because after Misty took all the good out of her, becoming the Lumiat, the Lumiat did the reverse, where she got rid of all the good that was in the Lumiat and became this version of the Master.
That's insane.
Yeah. But you know what else? That is a story for another time.
Yes, it is.
So, every time you bring the Master in, things get wild. So why don't we simplify things by letting everyone know, where can the good people find you, good sir?
You can find me all over this channel, the Northern Entertainment Group. You can also find me Friday nights over on the Let's Get Ready Network doing the Blokes of Wrestling show. We're actually coming up in 2 weeks. Anyways, the Friday before WrestleMania weekend, we will be launching the Blokes of Wrestling YouTube channel. So definitely check that out.
Okay, cool. And you can find me every Monday on this show, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, with a different guest every week. And you can find me with this wonderful gentleman, not Snorlax, sorry. This wonderful Mr. Soda's Misty's Love Slave every Thursday on Fun with Flags, where we take each turns and talking about our individual countries. And you can also find me on my own YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Geek. I do weekly Doctor Who reviews for every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way up to 2022, as well as some other random stuff whenever I have time to. I just released a reaction video for the Eurovision song that will be representing Israel in the Eurovision later this year. So go ahead and check that out. And you can also check me out last week or so on Taco's channel, Something to Talk About, on his channel on the final episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars. And you can also check on this channel. We have You Seen This? And you can also check out our other good friend's channel, the late great Ben Rayner, his channel, The Multiverse of Geekdom, with other people from around the Benverse, as well as Joe, who was here last week. They do all kinds of fun stuff on the Multiverse of Geekdom there. And I think that about wraps everything up. So, so in the words of Missy herself,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Goodbye.